Sagittarius, something inside you has changed. Not the way you smile, not the place you live, but something only those who have ever woken up in the middle of the night with their heart trembling can truly understand. Your soul is opening into an entirely new chapter. And if you've ever felt like you no longer belong to the things you once called home, then this video is for you. In just a few moments, you'll begin to understand why your quiet transformation is actually the first step toward a magnificent destiny waiting for you. Write this down in the comments. I have changed, and I'm ready to live as the truest version of myself. Because when you write it, it's not just a statement, it is a declaration to the universe. Sagittarius is ready to walk into their destiny. And now, let's begin the journey. To uncover the changes that have quietly turned Sagittarius into one of the most awakened souls of this astrological season. Don't look away, because what's coming next may even surprise you. Do you feel it, Sagittarius? Something is pulling you out of your old comfort zone. Gently but powerfully, like invisible hands peeling away layers of memory, old identities, and the you from yesterday. This is not random. As of this July, Jupiter, your ruling planet, has moved out of its peaceful sky and stepped into the 8th house of your birth chart, the house of endings, rebirth, and deep transformation. And like every soul in transition, you are stepping into a space where what no longer belongs to you must be released, so that your soul can be reborn. I once witnessed a Sagittarius, someone who had always been generous, always forward-moving, suddenly fall quiet, withdrawn, no longer laughing loudly like before. People thought he was fading, but I knew he was entering the dark night of his soul. And when he emerged, no one recognized the gaze in his eyes anymore. It was deeper, softer, and unsettling for those who had never met themselves. I've seen many zodiac signs go through transformation, but no one changes as profoundly as Sagittarius when their soul is called. Because Sagittarius doesn't change just to live differently. They change to live truthfully. You are being asked to shed, not because you want to, but because your soul chose this path long before your mind caught up. The things you once loved passionately now feel distant. The people you once held so tightly have faded, and you don't even feel the need to hold them back. You once thought that if you were better, they would have stayed. But maybe they left not because you weren't enough, but because your light was too real for someone who wasn't ready to see it. This isn't a loss, Sagittarius. It's a refining. You are becoming clearer, sharper, and that clarity makes some people step back. But whatever happens, don't turn around. Take a closer look, Sagittarius. Have you been sleeping less, but dreaming more? Have you noticed that the places which once felt familiar no longer feel like home? Have you found yourself wanting to write, to meditate, or to simply sit in silence, something you once couldn't stand? That is the sign of rebirth, of a Sagittarius reconnecting with their original soul. I used to think I had to shine all the time, but then I realized the strongest light doesn't always blind. It's quiet, like a slow-burning fire in your chest. Only those who've been lost before can truly feel it. If you feel like you're caught in a spiral that no one warned you about, write this down in the comments. I am transforming, and I welcome it with gratitude. Not for someone's approval, but so the universe can hear your commitment. You know, Jupiter isn't just the planet of luck, it's the planet of sacred knowledge. And when it travels through the 8th house, it doesn't just force you to change, it invites you into a kind of wisdom that only those who've walked through fire can understand. You don't need to rush. You don't need to understand everything right away. But trust this. If you feel like you're no longer yourself, it's because a new version of you is about to emerge. We don't become someone else through pain. We simply return to the part of ourselves that we once forgot. But tell me, have you truly recognized what's changing inside you? And why are the feelings you once tried to suppress returning now, stronger than ever? Stay with me in the next chapter, where you'll begin to see the subtle yet undeniable signs that you are no longer who you used to be. And your soul is starting to remember why it came here. Some changes arrive as gently as a breath. You don't notice them right away. They don't come with alarms or dramatic dreams. They come like morning light seeping quietly through the curtain, soft, delicate, but impossible to ignore. If you're a Sagittarius and lately you felt a little different, spoken a little less, needed a little less to be understood, that's not exhaustion. That is your soul growing into itself. Have you noticed? Some people who were once close to you have drifted away without a clear explanation, and strangely, you don't feel as hurt as you used to. You're not reaching out to pull them back, because deep down you understand. Some relationships only made sense for the version of you that no longer exists. Maybe you didn't change for some big reason. Maybe it's just that the way you see the world has become softer. Your intuition now speaks louder than your words. You can walk into a room and feel the energy before anyone even speaks. You know who's genuine. You sense what's being held back. No proof, no explanations, just silence and clarity. You used to need to be understood, to explain, to prove. Now you just want peace. And there's something else. You're falling in love with stillness. Instead of chasing noise, you find a quiet corner, open a journal, and write. You begin to notice the light on the wall in the late afternoon. You're moved by an old song. You no longer need to do something to feel like you matter. You're learning to simply exist, and to let that be enough. A Sagittarius who once couldn't sit still for more than 10 minutes now finds joy in meditation, tending to plants, and learning how to breathe deeply. Not because anyone told them to, but because their soul is finally finding its way home. I once met a Sagittarius woman, age 47. She was once all fire, her career, her travels, her passionate connections. But after a strange dream, she woke up, bought a Bible, and began meditating every morning. She told me, "I don't know why. I just feel like something is trying to speak to me." And from that day forward, she was no longer afraid of being alone. Change is not always loud. Sometimes it arrives in a single exhale after a long, hazy night. If you too have lost interest in the things that once set you on fire, write this down below. I don't fully understand what's happening, but I trust the process. Because the moment you admit that you don't need full clarity is the moment the universe begins to show you the signs more clearly. And you know what? It's from those quiet changes that a new chapter begins to unfold. Not in the world around you, but in the deepest corners of your own perception. But why? Why has Sagittarius been chosen to change in this way? And what is the true reason behind all these things you're feeling so deeply, yet no one else seems to notice? Let's continue the journey to understand why the universe needs you to change, right now. Do you know why the universe chose this moment, Sagittarius? Not because you are weak. Not because something in you is broken, but because you've gone as far as you could with the version of yourself you used to be. And now, your soul is demanding a new map. If you were born between November 29th and December 12th, you are standing at the center of a powerful activation, as Cancer season brushes against the deepest emotional house in your chart. This is a time not only of softening the heart, but of reawakening memories from lifetimes past. A glance, an old phrase, a scent you can't explain. They all seem to be leading you somewhere you've never been, but strangely, you remember it with tears. I used to think that the soul transforms only when we're ready. But the truth is, the soul doesn't wait for readiness. It only waits for courage, for us to stop running. You were not born to blend in, Sagittarius. You were born to lead. You carry both the arrow and the fire, moving forward into soul territory no one has dared to chart. And to step into unmapped lands, you cannot carry old luggage with you. The universe is clearing a path for you, but to walk it, you must let go. Not everyone will understand your journey, and they don't have to. Do you remember the last time you went quiet in a noisy room and realized you no longer resonated with that frequency? That was not loneliness. That was a recalibration. The universe is guiding you back to the exact soul placement you were written into, long before you were born. You are not being left behind. You are being led out of the crowd and onto the path that only you have the courage to walk. This is the season where Jupiter, your ruling planet, begins to whisper new questions. Are you still living for expectations or for your soul? Do you still choose to be liked, or do you now choose to live in truth? What you're feeling is not the end. It's the bell of something beginning, a sacred summons that only the soul can hear. When you stop trying to fit into the world, you finally begin to fit into yourself. If you felt different lately, If you've stopped trying to explain the changes within you, write this down in the comments. I accept the person I am becoming, even if others no longer recognize me. Because when you write that, you stop needing approval, and you start living by your light. But even sacred changes leave behind empty spaces. So what happens when you begin to live more truthfully, but the people who once loved you no longer recognize you? The answer lies in the silence growing louder inside your heart. Stay with me to discover why Sagittarius is not just changing, but returning. There is a kind of peace that doesn't come from being understood. It doesn't come from applause or validation. It comes from a place so quiet, so deep, that you no longer feel the need to explain your light to anyone. And if you're in that place now, congratulations, Sagittarius. You have truly grown. Maybe you once lived to be seen. You tried not to be misunderstood. You wrote 1,000 unsent messages, only to delete them because you didn't know how to express your light in words they could understand. And then one day, you stopped trying to explain. Not out of pride, but out of peace. You no longer want to win an argument. You only want to win within your own heart. I've watched many Sagittarians walk through storms. They are not quiet by nature. They are fire, wild, radiant, uncontainable. But over time and through things no one else ever sees, they learn to burn in silence. Not to fight the dark, but to continue shining. Quietly, steadily. As a mystic who has walked with the stars for 50 years, I've seen many Sagittarius souls face the darkness. But what moves me most is not that they are always strong. It's that they never let the darkness turn them into what once hurt them. Do you remember? There was a time you wanted to answer back, to defend yourself, to prove someone wrong. But now, you choose silence, because you've understood true light doesn't need to prove itself. I used to think I had to earn love as a reward for resilience, but now I understand. The truly strong are those who remain soft, even when no one stays. You are no longer who you used to be, Sagittarius, and that is something beautiful. You used to think light meant always being brilliant, but now you know, light can also be a quiet day that still carries a gentle heart. If you've ever felt like your light makes other people uncomfortable, write this in the comments. I no longer need to be understood. I just need to be myself. This isn't a message for the world. It's a message to the deepest part of you that's been waiting to be set free. But what happens when you finally accept yourself and the world around you still isn't ready to see you in your true form? Let me tell you about a sacred sign, a quiet reassurance that you are not walking alone, that the silence you're sitting in right now is the calm before destiny calls your name louder than it ever has before. There are moments that no one prepares you for, but when they arrive, your heart knows instantly, this is no longer the old chapter. You begin to dream. Not scattered dreams, but vivid, strange images that feel deeply familiar. A light at the end of a tunnel. A father standing silently on the porch. The old house where your childhood ended in tears. These are not coincidences. They are messages from deep within, whispers that a door has already begun to open. You may even find yourself face to face with someone from your past, someone who once hurt you deeply. And strangely, you no longer feel pain in your chest. You no longer sigh. You no longer wish they understood. Just a quiet smile, because you've walked through that wound and come out of it more whole and brighter. Maybe you never got the apology, but maybe you no longer need it in order to forgive. And then, a mysterious door opens, an opportunity, a phone call, an invitation that seems random but uncannily aligned with what you once prayed for. You'll know it's a message from destiny because it doesn't come when you're impatient. It arrives when you are finally ready. Forgiveness is not saying they deserve it. It is the sacred acknowledgement that you do, that you deserve to be lighter, so you can move forward. If you've met someone from your past and your heart no longer hurts, write this in the comments. I no longer hold on to the old because I'm ready for what's next. Sometimes a sentence like that is the ceremony that opens the door you've been waiting for. You are no longer the one searching for the door. You are the one standing right at the threshold, and the light pouring in from the other side is the reminder that a new chapter, one filled with light, is already waiting for you. But before you walk through that door, you must do the most important thing. Say goodbye to the final version of yourself that belonged to the past. Let me tell you about the sacred moment when a Sagittarius realizes they're finally ready to step out of the old role and live as the soul they were always meant to be. There was a time you believed success meant being called by name in a room full of people. Success meant the one you loved coming back. A bank account full enough to go wherever you pleased without thinking twice. But now, when you sit still and close your eyes, you no longer see yourself on a stage. You see yourself in a quiet place, at peace. Success, for a Sagittarius who has matured, is no longer about achievements. It's about alignment with the soul. It's when you don't need to wear anything, not a title, not a performance, to feel like you matter. It's when you can look at who you were 1 year ago and smile, not out of regret, not out of grief. Just a quiet knowing, I've come this far, and I'm proud of that. I once witnessed a Sagittarius walk away from a 6-figure career, leave a relationship of 7 years, and choose to live in a small cabin near the mountains, writing books and studying healing. She told me I didn't lose anything. I just finally began living honestly. And I believe she's one of the most successful people I've ever known. You don't have to live to impress. You just have to live in a way that doesn't betray yourself. Because when your light is no longer masked by societal expectations, then wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you are living your true destiny. What has changed in you that even you didn't realize until recently? Write it in the comments below, not just to share, but to affirm the soul journey you've been walking through. But what if all these changes aren't the end? What if they're only the preparation for something far greater? What if this is the moment when Sagittarius stops searching for the light and becomes it? Sagittarius, thank you for being here. Not just as a listener, but as a soul that is slowly awakening. You didn't arrive here by chance. You were called. Because the light within you is finally ready to be seen, fully. And if today your heart trembled, even just a little, that was not a fleeting emotion. It was a signal that it's time to live as your soul has always longed to. I know, the journey of transformation is never easy, but the fact that you chose to continue is proof that the light inside you is stronger than any darkness you've ever walked through. If this video touched something in you, please comment, share, and pass it on. Because somewhere, someone might be in the middle of their darkest night, and all they need is a message like this to remember. They are not alone. Write this beneath the video. I am light and I am ready to live my destiny. Because the moment you declare that, the gates of the universe will begin to open. I'll see you again on the next part of this journey, where we don't just glimpse the future, but name it with the truth that lives inside us. May the light of God always guide your way, Sagittarius.